we got a very special guest with us. Our second graduate of Belen Jesuit. Toad is leading the tally mark over Columbus. Nick Martinez, right-handed pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. I didn't want to introduce him as a reliever or a starter. He does both. Versatile, do it all kind of arm for the Reds. So, Nick, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Nick, last night, speaking about Belen and how much we're just overall better guys.
Pump the tires, bro. Belen. Here we go. Father Willie.
Better guys than our Columbus rivals. You had quite the moment last night. There was rain before the Cincinnati San Francisco game last night. And a clip went viral of you helping out the grounds crew, barefoot, T-shirt and shorts, soaking wet, pulling the tarp with the crew. What inspired you to do that in that moment?
You know, it's not as heroic as it looked, to be honest. I was out. I normally do some grounding when I get to the stadium before practice. So even when it's overcast, you can get the benefits of those UV rays. And I usually, as soon as I get to the clubhouse, I get in the cold tub for 3 minutes, go outside, warm up, use the sun to warm back up. It's really good for the body. And so as I was walking out there, we started to get some cloud coverage, and I saw I was kind of shooting the shit with the grounds crew there. We obviously interact with them a lot. It rains a lot in Cincinnati, so they're in and out of the dugout. Their hangout spot is actually directly behind. They have a pretty cool setup directly behind our dugout. They got a popcorn machine. They got the game. They got couches. So
damn.
When I was a starter, I would go in there, maybe watch an inning, grab some popcorn, talk some crap with the guys, then go back out into the dugout. So I went out yesterday to do some grounding after the cold tub. Sun wasn't out anymore. They were about to pull a tarp, and one was like jokingly said, "Hey, you gonna help us pull a tarp?" I'm like, yeah, I got nothing else to do. I'm out here, gonna be barefoot anyways. And so it was for that reason. Then they threw the tarp out, rolled it out, and I was like, I don't think I've pulled a tarp since college. And even in college, we had we had a turf field, but in college summer ball, we pulled the tarp a couple times. So
it brings you back. When people don't realize pulling the tarp is hard as hell sometimes, man. When that tarp gets stuck on when it's really dry or it's really wet and it's really heavy, it's a pain in the ass, man. People don't realize those are unsung heroes right there, the grounds crew, man.
Yeah. It's been a while. They asked if brought back any memories from the early days. I said, not good ones. No,
never good ones. You were pulling tarp in college at Miami. It was like the guys who they knew weren't going to play, that their uniform could just get soaked. So it's like you're pulling a tarp. It's like, oh, mom and dad, you can probably go home. Like I'm not playing today.
I'm more focused on the grounds crew hangout. Father Willie's going to have to build one of those at the new baseball facility.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a pretty cool little spot they got back there. Every stadium has their hangout spot, and like they're usually by the bullpen, and ours is behind the dugout. Washington Nationals have theirs by the bullpen, behind, like, to the left of their bullpen, and so the visiting bullpen is in left field, and there's usually tunnel access. And on usually days I know I'm down, I'm not pitching, I'll venture stadiums to see what they got back there. Like, I mean, I'll venture through the tunnels, and they got like a ton of bobbleheads and giveaways and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, when I was in Nationals, they still had Juan Soto bobbleheads. I was like, man, that'd be a cool one just to take back to the dugout.
That's like MTV Cribs, bro. The guts of the stadium. Like, Nick Martinez. That's the idea, bro. Nick Martinez tours the stadium during games.
I could have got the GoPro to my hat or something. And so I'll do that. And but by far the coolest one is in Anaheim. Those grounds crew guys, they have the rocks in Anaheim is underneath those rocks, and they have a really cool setup in there. Yeah, it's pretty.
You could probably go back there during the middle of the game, play some NCAA.
They'll have darts. Some guys have darts. I mean, they'll have a little hoop. Our grounds crew, like, they're behind the dugout, but then where they carry their, all the machinery, the John Deeres and all that stuff is in our bullpen in center field, and in there they have a hoop. They got wiffle ball.
What?
The rain delays, we might shoot some hoops, we might play some wiffle ball or something.
Forget podcasting. I want to try it.
Yo, toe to the grounds crew. That wasn't the only viral thing last night. Obviously, we're recording this Saturday, August 3rd. Friday, August 2nd. You were on the wrong side of a no-hitter, unfortunately, but it was a former teammate, Blake Snell. Unbelievable performance. He's had an unbelievable, seems like the last 6 weeks, his last 50 so innings have just been out of this world. So from a pitcher standpoint, you had one of the best seats in the house watching that. What was that like, Nick? I mean, to watch not only a former teammate, but, be part of a historic night like that, a no-hitter.
Yeah, his stuff is suffocating, right? Like his fastball is really impressive, and his breaking pitches just disappear from the zone, right? And guys, you can see that in the type of swings that he creates in his breaking pitches, and just the uncomfortable swings guys take on his fastball. And a lot of guys, the approach seems to be a little bit more patient, because he can walk guys. Obviously last year he walked the most and still won the Cy Young. So, but last night he was just absolutely nails, man. He was commanding the ball so well, inside, outside, up, down. I mean, it was really impressive to watch. And I think early on, from a pitching standpoint, we were like, this is going to be a tough one for us. And obviously it turned out that way.
He made the ninth inning look so easy, and he had to face Dela Cruz too, got him on one pitch, and it was just business as usual. Go ahead. No, to me, the craziest part was it was his first complete game, period, in his career. Right. So
that goes to like his spraying, right? Like he can walk guys. He's not that efficient, and yesterday he was both.
It's absolutely crazy. And Nick, I guess in terms of your baseball journey, obviously last year with the Padres, Darvish, Snell. Was that something that was just like a complete learning experience? Are you picking those guys' brains constantly to try and evolve your stuff? I know you're a student of the game. You talked, earlier in the episode, some of the stuff you do pregame, but like in terms of learning from guys, was Snell and Darvish, some of those experiences, what were they like learning from two of those guys? Some of the nastiest stuff in the big leagues from both of those guys.
Yeah, more so from Darvish. Snell being a lefty, and he's just coming in and kind of his stuff. He has this natural ability, the raw stuff that's. I mean, he rolls out of bed and can throw 97. And like, it's naturally.
Those guys suck, man. Those guys
pound the zone, right? Yeah. So Darvish has the talent to be able to spin the ball and command, read swings, and so I would pick Darvish's brain and Joe Musgrove's brain the most, I think, when it came to that staff.
Nick, you talk about your years in San Diego. Obviously, I would say that's really propelled you, right? You had, and we'll get into your baseball journey, but last year you're in San Diego. This year, move over to Cincinnati. Obviously, different sort of vibe in terms of cities, but what went into your thought process in the offseason and ultimately your decision to sign with Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, when I first came as a Padre last year, so we come once a year. They play at our place, we come to their place, and we came at the, I'd say it was like June or July when we came in. And the energy, the vibe that they had in the clubhouse, you can feel it across the field, how good of a clubhouse that was, the energy, the fight to want to win and all that stuff. You could feel that playing against them. And ultimately that's really important. You don't want to go to, those are horror stories when you hear, clubhouses aren't in good shape or it's toxic. Like, it just makes the season very miserable and long. It's already a long season. You don't have a good clubhouse, makes it to the nth degree worse. And so that was very important. Them wanting to win, kind of, all right, this is our chance. This is our window to kind of push forward. We want to win now. We got our young core. We're adding a few pieces. We think we can really make a push in this division. And the division was up for grabs, right? There's no, there's no Dodgers or Houston or Rangers that are kind of just taking off with the division. So the division seemed up for grabs. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way, and there's no way to predict that. Just you want to be on a team that wants to win and has a good clubhouse. And so it made it pretty easy for me to, make that decision at that point. And then also being on the East Coast, easier flights for the family. I got 2 kids and 1 on the way. So easy flights, same time zone. So we're just, it makes it being in San Diego, I loved San Diego. I lived on Coronado. I was on the beach all the time. The fans are unbelievable in San Diego. I absolutely loved playing there. They were the first team I wanted to go back to when I opted out. I thought I was going to go back. But again, it just didn't happen that way. And, we're happy with the decision that we made now.
2 questions for San Diego quickly. Number one, How good are fish tacos? And we did a ballparks ranking, and Petco was the consensus number 1. How great is Petco Park?
Fish tacos are great. We had a lot of those in the clubhouse. for lunch and for post batting practice. And the stadium is electric, man. It's so much fun. It's a huge party. The fans come out, they look to party, they're getting after it. They want to see us win. They're rooting for us.
That's what we're looking for down here, man. We're waiting. We've been patient.
I've said it a bunch of times where Miami can be the Padres if they were committed to winning. If the front office, unfortunately, if they were committed to winning at the big league level, and they're more committed to, kind of bringing the prospects and developing players. And I mean, they're good at that too, but at the big league level, if they were to kind of spend a little bit more, you would see, I mean, you could bring in, if the front office showed that they were committed to winning at the big league level, the fans would come in. I think they're very similar markets.
Javi and I were in the building for the World Baseball Classic last summer, and holy crap, what an atmosphere.
Yeah.
When the roof is closed on that place and there's people in there, it's absolutely electric. And we went for Nicaragua, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, it was 90% Puerto Rico fans, but it was like game 7 of the World Series for them. And it was an opening round game.
I mean, just like San Diego, Miami people like to party. So imagine if we were committed to winning.
Yeah.
What that environment could be like then. Yeah.
I think this is a perfect segue, Nick. We got, obviously recording this on a Saturday, early next week, you come back to Miami. I think on a personal level, it's got to be a tremendous thrill, right? Play in front of your family and friends. And I know Todd alluded to it, but, Belen Jesuit's doing a Belen night at the park.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Gathering as many alumni as possible to come and watch you pitch. So in terms of, obviously the long season, maybe not the record the Reds would hope to have, but there's got to be such a nice point in the middle of the year to come back home to Miami and play in front of your family and friends.
Yeah, it's really cool. Coming with San Diego, we had an off day. That was nice. But now going with Cincinnati, going 4 days, what Belen is doing is going to be really special. I'm going to try to get out and say what's up to everybody before that game that they're going out there. And it's always nice. I mean, the support that I get whenever I go home is unbelievable. I mean, I leave a bunch of tickets for family and friends. There's usually a whole section coming to watch me play. And usually by the third game, I'm tired. I'm seeing everybody. I want to go. Again, the support I feel the support. I love it. I'm blessed, man, really, to have that kind of support system and not just family, right? I mean, it's buddies, high school buddies, friends of friends that know me. I mean, it's real cool.
I think we can go on a limb and say it's going to be the loudest section in the park on all weekend long.
Usually is.
And we're here for it, man. That's awesome.
There might be more Nick Martinez jerseys and jerseys than whoever's left on the Marlins at this point.
Yeah, probably.
But Nick, this is the Bullpen Mafia. You are in a unique spot where you've had experiences as a starter and as a part of the quote unquote Bullpen Mafia. Can you talk a little bit about the differences in your preparation on game days that that you're either going to be starting or you're going to be an opener versus coming out of the bullpen and just a regular relief role?
Yeah. So my routine is the same, really. I either do it before the game as a starter or I do it in the bullpen before going in. Sometimes it can be a little condensed. But really, to get my body going, I have my routine, and in the throwing program, it's usually the same. Obviously, I'll do my throwing program before batting practice as a reliever and right before the game as a starter. So what really sets everything apart is I'm really good at monitoring my workload and what I do for catch every day to be able to bounce back and forth. I use the pulse, the driveline pulse sleeve. I have a trainer in Tampa that helps me kind of monitor my workload week to week, month to month, plan ahead, and it's basically a little chip that counts every throw, but obviously it also it'll measure different stress levels, right? Like everyone has their own arm angle and amount of force that they put into each throw. So this is a unique way of monitoring how I'm going about my throwing and the game so that I can be a little bit more dynamic in how I train the next day and what I can give the team in terms of innings and whatever role I'm in. So it allows me to be on my toes constantly all the time to be able to, hey, I can give you one, like yesterday I threw one inning to prepare for multiple innings when I'm in Miami. Right. And then I can, after that, I can see how my body's feeling. Okay, hey, now I'm ready to give you another inning. Basically be more available in those situations, in high leverage situations more often.
Managers got to love you, right? I mean, managers, pitching coaches, because the ability to be versatile, I think in today's day and age, is so important. And I guess, you talked about some of the preparation and the workload. When did you get so like in tune with your body and how you were feeling? Was that something you were, sort of, I know my personal experience, I was never in tune with my body until I think once I got out of baseball, I realized like, there was a certain level of, intensity and discipline that you need to have to make it to the major leagues. And then once you're there, to sustain it over a long 162 game season. So at what point did you really learn that and get so in tune with your body and your workload?
I would have to say all the way back when I got drafted, when I became a pitcher. I wasn't a pitcher until I got drafted. And I had this, a realization. I was really aware that, hey, I got one shoulder. I'm not a position player anymore. Right? Like as a position player, if your arm hurts, you can still contribute with the bat, with your legs, with your defense, and kind of just get the throws there, right? Like you have other, facets of your game that you can contribute to help a team win. If I'm hurt as a pitcher, that's it. I'm out. I may not be pitching again. I have a career done, right? There's that possibility. So from early on, I was like, okay, I really have to take care of my arm and my body and see where it's at. So I always had the awareness. It wasn't until 2019 I got hurt in Japan. Going into that, after that season, going into the 2020 off season, when I started using the pull sleeve, it was Modus then to be even more, on top of how many throws and try to, be more efficient with my throwing, and it's helped me out tremendously since then. So I might be the only pitcher in the league that has every throw documented since 2020.
Wow.
Every throw I've ever made, it's documented. I have it. The workload, I mean, it's all in the what do you call those CSV files? I got it all on my phone.
In the cloud somewhere, right?
Yeah, somewhere, but we got it.
But that's so cool, right? Because I think in today's day and age, there's so much information overflow, but it's all yours, right? So exactly the good ones, the bad ones, right, how you felt, and you can sort of work backwards. And I think you talked about early in your career, the transition from position player to pitcher. You played at Fordham, you were a middle infielder, get drafted by the Rangers, transition to pitcher. You make your major league debut with the Rangers, pitch in the big leagues with the Rangers. Then you make the move to Japan. What went into that decision to move to Japan, Nick? What exactly were the factors? And then what did you learn from it and come back? And obviously your career has taken off since then. You come back, you sign with the Padres, you sign with the Reds in this offseason. So what was the impetus to move to Japan, and what did you take out of that experience?
Well, going into after the 2017 season, I was going into arbitration. I thought I was going to be protected. I thought I was going to be tendered a contract. I didn't have that great a year. That platform year wasn't a good year, but I had, kind of stacked it. The chips weren't really stacked on my side. I was constantly moving between, AAA, big leagues, the bullpen, the rotation. Not a lot of direction of what they wanted from me, or I didn't know how to handle really being sent up and down so many times. That itself mentally is a grind. It's not an easy thing to do. So, but given all that, I still thought, okay, they know what I'm capable of doing. Maybe they'll tender me a contract, and then, okay, now let's get to work. Let's kind of get this guy on the right page. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I didn't want to be labeled. At that time, once I was non-tendered, every offer I got from other teams was non-roster invite. Here's a split contract, major league, minor league, and I didn't want to be a depth guy. They kept kind of labeling me as a depth pitcher. He's good. He's a great pitcher in AAA. We can rely on him to call him up to the big leagues. We'll DFA him if we have to, or send him down. I wanted to avoid that. I knew, even though I had some bad years, I believed in myself enough to like, hey man, I can help a team win from beginning to end. I just got to figure it out. And that was the opportunity that I got in Japan. I was like more consistent. There's teams that they take more seriously, or they invest more in players that do well in Japan, come back to the big leagues and have a career. You had Kobe Lewis and Miles Michaelis. They both, went to Japan, came back and had great careers in the big leagues. And so I felt like teams took that more seriously than a guy that was in AAA doing well and then called up and then back down and having to stick and having to go through that process of arbitration again. And so I was like, dude, I'm going to go to Japan, work on my craft, do what I got to do to get back to the big leagues. And there's a unique situation when you come back to the big leagues from Japan. You can negotiate being a complete free agent. I don't have to go back into the arbitration process. And so essentially I did my arbitration years in Japan, being paid what I would have been paid in arbitration in the big leagues. And so I was able to grow as a person, as a player. It allowed me to playing over there. I mean, those guys, it's like death by 1,000 cuts there. Like they may not have the power that we have in the States, but they have really good plate discipline. They like to clog the bases, which we're seeing more of that style come to the States now, coming to the MLB now. We're a lot more hit and runs and bumps and stealing and kind of just keeping the bases clogged and having more pressure on the pitcher. Before, when analytics first started, everyone was trying to hit home runs. Pitchers didn't really care if you give up 3 solo shots, you can still have a quality start. You can still be in control of the game. But when you constantly have someone on second base, first base, second base, those are very stressful pitches. That pitchers hate that. Yeah. You can't stand that. You're focusing, you're splitting your focus on the runner and on the hitter, and it's nearly impossible to multitask. So the game is starting to move that way. And having done that in Japan, that's one of the things I learned more on the mental side. And then I started learning the analytics and understanding myself on how to use, what my pitches and what my metrics do and how to use them properly. So it was a combination of mental growth and a physical growth and understanding what my metrics do. And then, I put that together in 2021, and that happened to be, the Olympic year where I was on a global stage, and I had a really good year during the season as well. And it brought me back to the States with Padres, for 2 years.
With the Olympics going on now, does it bring back any memories of playing in Tokyo with that team? Yeah. It was in the midst of COVID, so an interesting audience was at the games. But Javi and I while we were prepping for the interview, we were taking a look back at the roster on that Olympic team. There's some studs on that team. They were former pros. Yeah. There's guys who are back in the big leagues now, sort of like yourself. So even Mike Scioscia was the manager. What was it like?
We had a Belen Columbus representation.
Eddie Alvarez.
Eddie.
So what was that experience like? How did that factor into you coming back to the States as well? Did that help your confidence and your you mentioned it on a global stage, your stock was up. You're playing in front of everybody.
Right. Yeah. That team was awesome. We were together for like 3 weeks, but it felt like we've been playing together for 2 years. We hit it off from day one, and the chemistry led by Todd Frazier and Eddie and some of the other guys. The camaraderie that we had was amazing. And we had some studs. We had some young prospects that are now established big leaguers. We had some older guys that were kind of using this as their farewell tour. And we had some older guys like myself and even David Robertson that were using it to like get back in the leagues. And McGuff too. He's with the Diamondbacks now. He kind of used that to propel himself back into the big leagues. And so it was an amazing opportunity, man. To represent your country and to use, to just to be around, right? Like you're watching the Olympics now. And it's so much fun to see these athletes. I'm watching to see if I remember any of the faces that were, because we all share a building, right? We're all in the same apartment complex. And so we see each other every day. You're around these different athletes, and you just want to ask questions like, how do they prepare? And how, what's their diet? What's their training like? We obviously, baseball players have the worst diet probably in the entire village.
Yo, come on, give us some credit.
We probably have the worst. We probably have the worst training, out there, right? Like we're very. It's a very skilled, very it's a very skilled sport, right? So like I don't have to run so much or lift that much weights. I have to do a very specific training to be able to do what I do. And so just asking around, seeing what they're doing. I've talked about this before, but I remember talking to one of the track girls and talking about how they're preparing for their meet or their heat or whatever. And we had just finished playing the quarterfinals, I think, or semifinal. We're going to the gold medal game, and we had McDonald's after our game. And I told this track athlete that, and the look of disgust on her face when I told her that we absolutely crushed McDonald's. I mean, we loved it, and she was like, "Yeah, and you competed after that?" We're like, "Yeah, we crushed it."
Not only did we compete, we're playing for the gold medal, baby.
Yeah, we played gold medal. After the gold medal game, we had Papa John's too. And like, what are you doing? You know?
Hey, man,
so that part's really cool.
Nothing more nostalgic than having a slice of pizza after playing a baseball game, right? Take you back.
Right. Yeah, we win a game. We represent America. What's more American than having McDonald's, right? I mean, we were just
that's amazing.
Crushing it. We were crushing it. And then obviously playing those other countries, like every game is a playoff game, right? There's no season. Every game matters. Every win matters. And so we, that obviously helped my stock coming back, where I faced the two best teams going into that tournament, right? I faced Korea. I think were the defending champions in the Beijing, or it might have been 2012. I think they won it, and then Japan going in it, they were the favorites because Japan stopped their whole league for that tournament and sent all their all-stars, and so did Korea. Korea sent all their all-stars. Obviously, you don't have the Major League Japanese or the Major League Koreans; they weren't allowed to go, and so and no Major League or 40-man roster players were allowed to go to the Olympics, and so. We had to form guys with prospects, older guys with experience. It was kind of a combination, but I got to face the Korean team and the Japanese team, and I did well. And so that kind of helped my case even more to come back.
Did you feel like you had a pretty good beat on those Japanese guys? I mean, you probably had seen a bunch of them in playing overseas in Japan, right? I mean, did you feel a level of comfort going against those guys?
Yeah. I mean, I knew what they were trying to do. I had 4 teammates on that team.
Wow.
On my current team, I had 2 other former teammates on that team, and then a lot of guys that obviously in Japan there's only 12 teams, so you're facing the same guys. They don't do interleague play; they only do interleague play for a month, and so you're playing the rest of you're playing your division for 5 months, and then you're playing the other division for 1 month, and so they've seen me, I've seen them, and so it was more of a cat and mouse game than it was just like, all right, I'm coming out to attack. Like if you didn't know I played in Japan, you just thought it was a regular game. But I was kind of being in Japan at the time, the fans were they were rooting for me because it was like one of their own their own country, and so I had a lot of fans supporting me. A lot of Japanese fans supporting me. As an American in those games, and then obviously they understood. Oh, like okay, they know what he's got. He knows what they're trying to do. Like it's kind of it was a really interesting cat and mouse going on. And I had like a shaky first inning, and I think a shaky 4th inning, and I was able to get out of it. And then unfortunately we lost, but it was a really cool game to watch. And obviously my teammates understood that too. Like they know, okay, this guy's played Japan. Like what is he? Who's going to make the adjustment first?
How's your Japanese? Is there any smack talk in Japan, or do you need a translator for that?
Not a whole lot of smack talk. A lot of respect. They're big on respect there, and respecting the game, respecting your opponent. So if anything, there's more teasing going on. If you know the other player, like I play now. I have Seiya Suzuki in my division. I'll play against him, and we'll tease each other. When we face each other, and he got a hit off me the other day, and I think I was like egging him on. There was like a shallow pop fly to center field when he was on first, and I was like egging him on to go. You should go take second. And our center fielder caught it, so I was kind of teasing him that way. And whenever when I see Darvish and Yamamoto, I pitched against Yamamoto so many times. In Japan, so when I see him, I always talk to him and say what's up, and he's really fun to watch. And Imanaga with the Cubs, he was a rookie when I first like my 2nd year or 3rd year in Japan, I think. Maybe even 1st year, he was a rookie. So I mean, he had a lot of hype even in Japan, and was a really good pitcher his rookie year. And so I would play against him more in either interleague. I don't think he matched up against us in interleague, but in the spring training games, I did see him pitch quite a bit. And so obviously I'll always talk to the Japanese guys, especially if I played against them. So I think it's kind of cool to maintain that connection.
Nick, we got 2 more questions for you. One, Toad wants to take away sort of some of your viral shortstop moments, but I think before we get there, I think you mentioned representing your country, starting in the gold medal game. You just took us through your baseball journey, right? You were at a point in your career with the Texas Rangers where they didn't necessarily have the belief in you that you had in yourself. Go to Japan, reinvent yourself, and you have this tremendous, career culminating most recently, 2.5 years ago, pitching in a gold medal game with a USA across your chest. What would 10-year-old Nick Martinez going into Belen, 12-year-old Nick Martinez playing shortstop think about, 15, 20 years later, you're starting on the mound against Japan with your country, playing for the gold medal. That must be, in terms of a baseball journey, you've done a lot of cool stuff. Like, that must have been unbelievable for you and your family.
Yeah, man. I mean, being a big leaguer and representing my country are, some of the first things I remember ever wanting, right? Like, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. And while I was, daydreaming or manifesting that as a kid, I would always also envision myself playing for Team USA. I just, just the honor that comes with, right? And to see both of those things come to fruition, it's, I'm playing with house money, man. I mean, I'm having a blast doing it, and I feel incredibly blessed. And although as a kid, I did envision myself playing in the infield doing these things. I didn't want to pitch when I was a kid. I liked the idea of playing every day. I didn't really like the idea of pitching every so often. And it wasn't until I got drafted where I was when I fell in love with pitching and realized quickly, like, I don't have what it takes to be a hitter in the big league. So being a major league pitcher and having represent my country is an amazing accomplishment, man. And I feel blessed that every time I think about it, I just, thank God for it.
We get goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
We were looking at it today. We were watching some of the videos of you guys in Tokyo and that game. And, obviously not the result you guys wanted, but still a tremendously played baseball game. And I think in a time where everyone was just looking for something to look forward to, that baseball team was a uniting factor, man. It was so cool. I think for us, especially you and Eddie being locally from Miami, we're constantly rooting. I remember my brother and I would wake up early to watch the games. Like, we went at a time where the world needed something that was really cool, man. And to say we had people from that, one of us, like, you guys are one of us, regardless of 1 degree of separation, it was so cool to see. So
it was really special. And for Eddie to be the flag bearer, I mean, and to win a medal, I think, I hate to say it, but Columbus kind of,
come on, man. Whoa. We're trying to get Belen alumni to share this video. Nick, take it easy.
I know they one upped us there. He's one of 6 athletes of all time to medal in both the winter. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna have to start skiing or something.
You're the first athlete to have a Belen diploma and a silver medal, all right? Like, that's got to be worth something.
I'm gonna start training for the Winter Olympics here. I can't let Columbus go get away.
Imagine Nick Martinez in the Winter Olympics, dude. He's shooting down one of the sides of the mountain.
Something. I gotta pick. Yeah, I gotta find the lowest hanging fruit in the Winter Games. Even if I'm a training staff,
maybe some curling. You got
curling, yeah.
It seems natural for a pitcher.
I don't know. Yeah. I was about to say relatively easy, but I'm not going to make that mistake. No, it's not easy.
Don't make any assumptions about those high skill sports. Nick, a few times you've mentioned being an infielder, and there's been a couple moments in the big leagues where it looks like your shortstop muscle memory kind of snaps into, watching, it looks like you're having an out of body experience. There was one play this year in Yankee Stadium against DJ LeMahieu that no look behind the back, and then another one, your first stint in the majors in Texas, you snagged an Andrelton Simmons straight up line drive.
Yeah.
Man, do you feel that athleticism from being
Yeah. I'll take ground balls. Not that these plays were any bit of, showing athleticism. A lot of it was luck and instinct. But I still take ground balls in the infield. I like to feel athletic. I think once you fully adopt the pitcher only mentality, I think you start to go downhill. You start to get hurt. You start to get just one dimensional. Injuries start to happen. You lose that athleticism. So I'll take ground balls with our infielders. I'll make different angled throws. I try to be as athletic as possible when I'm doing PFPs. And so I think it plays. I do mess up a lot. Don't get me wrong. I also get the most crap from the position players when I make an error on the mound because they see me working.
Like, oh, you're really one of us.
And then I make the error. So Rudy Odor will always give me crap for being a bad fielder. But I think it translates, man. I think it translates. And with those two plays, the first one in Texas, It was a line drive, but I promise you, when plays like that happen, it feels like they're in slow motion. And I remember like the ball coming right at me, felt like it was going real slow. And I just remembered, okay, I think I can get a glove on it. Maybe I can knock it down and get it out at first. I didn't think I was going to catch it, but it was in a very unique spot where I felt like I can get a glove behind it. Kobe Lewis, I saw Kobe Lewis do it a bunch when I was with Texas, and he was like my mentor, showed me how to be a big leaguer and how to pitch, how to maneuver through games. And he would wear stuff off the body. He once wore a line drive off the head, and Rugi caught it for an out. Like, he didn't move. He kept pitching that game. But he's done the behind the back, and he had done it a couple times with ground balls. And I was like, man, I should try that. Like, that looks awesome, And I remember in AAA, any kind of ground ball, I would try to start, and I wouldn't get a lot of them, right? Like, I would nick a couple, or they would just go through, and our shortstop or second baseman would catch it. And so and for that one, it just happened to be like the perfect placement. Ended up catching line drive and doubling up. And the one in Yankee Stadium this year, I did it also in Japan. The year I came in 2021, and in Japan, I was featured in the ESPN top 10 plays with the same thing. It was like a ground ball, caught it behind my back, turned the double play, and then this year in Yankee Stadium, it was like a weird situation. It was like the perfect bounce and hit soft enough where I was able to think and react. And
the presence of mind. You went to third base.
Yeah, he hit it, and I was like, okay, I know it's behind me. I was like, I know I can catch this. I know it's going to land here. And so that one was more of, there was more awareness on that one. I knew I caught it, knew there was a guy on second, knew he was going to go, right? Like, he doesn't think I'm going to catch it, and it's hit soft enough where he's going to make it to third. So he was kind of caught in the middle there, and that one was a pretty cool play. But I just try to be as athletic as possible.
So if Ellie De La Cruz or Jonathan India and all the backup infielders, God forbid they get hurt.
I've been asked.
Yeah, or in 14th, 15th inning, crazy extra inning games, is Nick Martinez coming out of the bullpen to play shortstop?
I'm telling you, pitchers take a lot of pride in being that last fielder, even the runner. Like, when it's a weird game and we're down a guy in the dugout, like the pitchers that are, where the coach tells them, hey, put on spikes, you may need to run. We're like, egos inflated. Our heads are this big. We're like, oh yeah, no problem, I got that. Like, we're like thinking we're going first to home. We might even steal a bag. I don't know.
Hey, the bases are bigger now. All right, it's easier.
A little bit easier. So we take a lot of pride in that. We talk some crap to the other pitchers. Like, yeah, I'm first up. I'm first up pitcher. That, if they need a guy to run, and then I'm also that guy defensively. Like, they asked me this year, like, what position are you most comfortable playing? And with that, I was like, infield. Throw me in the infield, no problem. I'll play wherever.
You get home, you call your agent. You may need the oven mitt. You need a smaller infield glove. You get some more swag coming your.
I get on the base pass. You don't know what's gonna happen. I might start asking for deals left and right. Double oven mitt. I might put a third one in my pocket. Just for swag,
just for swag. Nick Martinez, ambassador for the USA, gold medal pitcher, also ambassador for pitchersareathletes.com.
Hey, you wanted a second sport, maybe track and field, man.
There you go.
Just don't have any.
I'm not fast enough. I'm not that fast.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, Nick, it's been a true pleasure to catch up with you, man. We really appreciate it. As a couple Miami guys, and obviously Todd as a grad of Belen, we're obviously super proud of you, man. We watch your career closely.
Thanks, man.
It's been a tremendous journey thus far, obviously, and there's still more to come. I think the best years of Nick Martinez are still ahead of him, right?
And the Reds, they're still in it.
I hope so.
And Cincinnati's still in the wild card hunt.
We're fighting. Yeah,
we're not giving up just yet.
Yeah. We got Nick Martinez in Miami this week, coming down with another friend of the program, Brent Suter. So we look forward to seeing you guys in action at Lone Depot. I'm sure there'll obviously be a big family, big friend contingent, big Belen contingent. So
the Mafia will be there as well.
Mafia will be there.
Awesome. Looking forward to see you guys, man.
Nick, thanks, man, best of luck the rest of the way. We really appreciate it, man. And go Reds.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.